How should a civil servant conduct himself? Once in a lifetime, every person dreams of becoming a civil servant. For them, the synonyms of being a civil servant are prestige, power, handsome salary, pride, and authority. But are these the only thing that a civil servant gains? No, there are many things beyond that. We can say that this is a prominent post beyond all the privileges. Civil services are the most important part of our administration, and a civil servant should perform his duties with integrity. Being a civil servant is not just a matter of prestige, but it is a responsibility to protect the civilians and the entire civilization. Quality of patience. A civil servant should possess patience. Let's look at the examination pattern and level. It is challenging for someone to clear it in the first attempt, and patience is required, even while preparing to become a civil servant. Civil servants go through a personality test before their final selection, and in this test also, the board tests how much patience and confidence a person possesses. This is the foremost quality that a person should have within him, because when a civil servant joins the office, he needs to fight with many problems and handle many people, which might be irritating. But if a civil servant conducts himself in patience, he would be successful in facing the entire adverse situation. The Office of Civil Services requires a civil servant to take many important decisions. A decision that is taken haphazardly gives adverse results. Therefore, patience helps them reach a deliberate decision that will benefit the public. Therefore, a civil servant should learn to develop the quality of patience by which he can achieve effective administration. Should be present round the clock. The world does not sleep. There could be any problem at any time, and thus, a civil servant should be available for its people 24/7. A civil servant should be devoted to the entire civilization. He should world round the clock, leaving behind his pleasures and comfort zone. He must never get tired of working for people. He must not wait for the situation to get critical, but he must act in no time so that his strategies do not fail. Good personality. It is well said that never let yourself be a product of your surroundings, but encourage your surroundings to be a product of your personality. A civil servant gets attracted by the personality he carries, and having a personality means good looks and a humble heart. A civil servant should work on his personality and have trimmed hairs, beards, etc. He should represent himself in his uniform or in a decent dress. When others see a person in formal attire, respect comes out automatically. Uniform or formal attire makes a civil servant different from others, and it becomes better for others to distinguish him in the crowd. A personality is a mirror of what a person really is. A civil servant with a good personality finds that people are getting attracted to him and following him. They learn things from a civil servant as he becomes their superhero. A good deed by a civil servant will compel others to do the same deed, and in this manner, the society will grow and groom just like the civil servant. Get himself acquainted with the problems and people. A civil servant must study the problems and the people at which he is posted. They are given the authority of administration. To effectively fulfill their duties, they should know what kind of deep-rooted problems the population faces within their jurisdiction. We cannot initiate war without knowing the strengths and weaknesses of our opposite empire, and in the same way, we cannot formulate and effectively implement strategies without knowing the status of the people, their needs, their expectations, their problems, and much more. When a civil servant gets connected to society, it creates a strong bond between the two, which benefits both the civil servant and the society in the long run. If a civil servant is not aware of the geographical conditions and demography, it will become difficult to satisfy his needs. This will hamper the progress in that jurisdiction. Moral values. Though a civil servant is above the citizens of the country, he should not forget that he is a citizen of the country. So, he should not act as a dictator of a typical leader, but walk along with people to accomplish a specific task. He should be humble and polite towards his office mates and the people within his jurisdiction. He should always respect others and their feelings and thoughts. Which civil services, trust is attached, and he should not break this trust. He should carry himself with integrity. Clearing the examination for civil services is not an easy task, thus, it may ignite a feeling of pride within a civil servant. But he must remain down to earth and should not dominate others because of his office. Should stay on the right path. Civil servants are prone to get much political pressure. Indira Gandhi once said that civil servants are the sole reason for ineffective administration. But it is not so. These servants are bound by rigid rules, and their actions are restricted by appropriated enactments. A politician calls them useless only when a civil servant refuses to do any task which he thinks is inappropriate. Corruption is a part of every department functioning in India, and these services also have corruption. Therefore, the civil servant must conduct him without any other interest except the welfare of society. They should not be biased, and their policies should not be molded by any other person who wants to take advantage of the office. They should adopt political neutrality. These civil servants also start considering themselves bureaucrats, which diverts them from their purpose. Therefore, a civil servant should walk on the right and just path. Works for the benefits of society in large. The office of a civil servant provides him an opportunity to work for the entire society in large. Personal interest or the interest of the bureaucrats that are against society's interest has no place in these services. Though we know the bureaucrats tend to take the whip of society in their hands, the civil servants should check these violating actions. They should work for the betterment of society. These civil servants were part of the society, and they knew society's problems as they had closely suffered them. So, they should remove the loopholes and shortcomings they encountered when they lived in a society without many privileges. Certain regulations were enacted from time to regulate the conduct of the civil servant, like Central Services Conduct Rule, 1964 and All India Civil Services Conduct Rules, 1968, which provides the rules about how a civil servant should conduct himself. Therefore, to sum up, a civil servant should conduct himself with high ethical standards, along with integrity and honesty. In his recent speech, the Prime Minister said that civil servants must be politically neutral and they should have the principle of merit and fairness. They need to be impartial towards discharging their duties and are accountable to the people for their acts, and therefore, their acts must be transparent because transparency also builds trust and popularity. They should be responsive to the public with humble and kind behavior. The Constitution of India is the supreme law of the land, and a civil servant should respect the Constitution and promote the virtues which the Constitution upholds. He should cherish the democratic values bestowed upon the Constitution's citizens. India is a sovereign state, which means that it is internally and externally free from control, and a civil servant needs to promote and protect the country's sovereignty. He should take all the steps to dissolve the disputes and protect the public interest. He must never place himself in a situation that brings financial obligations upon him. He must present himself confidently and in a formal dress code in front of society. He should use professional skills in performing his duties, and all his acts should be within the ambit of the provisions of the law and regulations of the country. The most important thing, they should never consider themselves superior to the citizens and should not talk in a tone full of pride.